And Playboy this morning said founder Hugh Hefner plans to cover up this time and go private, buying back the shares he doesn't already own. Our next guest covers Playboy as well as other media companies. He's David Bank, the global media and internet research analyst at RBC Capital Markets. David, good to have you with us, and how timely with this Playboy news, because you cover the company. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I think it's yet another demonstration of the power of content in media, right? What Playboy has, a lot of people associate Playboy with, sort of the adult entertainment business, but really what Playboy is a really under-leveraged brand. Has incredible brand leverage, internationally. You put the brand on everything from, energy drinks to casinos, and it drives a tremendous amount of earnings power. So I think that the argument that Hef is probably putting forth is that the market is really not appreciating the value of that brand, and he has a proposal to go private to realize that value.
David, it's John Erlichman. The market certainly appreciating it today. Hey, his stock's up about 35%, but some shareholders we know have argued in the past, made the argument that Hef was standing in the way of deals with other companies getting done, possible buyouts. Do you think shareholders will be on board with this kind of transaction?
Well, I think they'll form a, when a formal proposal is received, the board will form a special committee to evaluate whether or not the offer is strong enough. I think he probably, I don't know if I would say stood in the way, but Hef was certainly the decision maker. He had a decision to make as to whether or not he thought they could do this on their own, or they were best served by taking an offer earlier from another company.
Right.
And maybe he has changed his mind. I don't know, but I think the value of the company has increased in part due to some new management changes, or not even so much management changes, but new initiatives that have been undertaken since the last sort of frenzy of potential takeout talk.
And does Hef have it in him to revitalize the brand if he takes control of it?
I don't think this is about Hef revitalizing the brand. I think it's really about international licensing agreements, and I don't think there's an active role that Hef is going to go in and sort of turn around the brand. No.
Okay, David, let's move on to something else. I mean, I know some guys could talk about Playboy all day, but but
only
David,
the articles.
Yes. Okay, but Google, there was some news out this morning with Barry Diller making comments about Google's reach into ITA and that being disturbing. And then we had reports that Google's now going to take a stake in Zynga, the gaming company. Is Diller right about this? Is Google reaching too far?
Well, I think that my colleagues who have primary coverage for Google can probably better speak to it. But the reality is Google's one of the biggest media companies on earth, and I think that ultimately the model is to sell advertising across every single platform, and not necessarily be a content company. And so I think what all these moves are trying to do is enable Google to be a player in advertising across every single piece of content.
Right.
And I don't know if they're overstepping it, but they certainly seem to be, that's the business plan, that's the playbook.
All right. And talking about content and having control of content in the television space, who's going to ultimately have control? Is it going to be the cable companies that have control over the content, or is it going to be the telecom companies?
Right. Well, I mean, I think in a sense they could both have control. I think the bigger question is, are we going to consume our content on an over-the-top basis, or are we going to do it the way we, most of us have for the past 20 or 30 years, which is through the cable box? And I think that decision is largely going to be up to the content owners. And I think if they're smart, they're going to use over-the-top sort of internet-based consumption as more of an incremental opportunity to drive revenue, as opposed to a new paradigm shift. A lot of people talk about, the power of video online. People are going to cut the cord. They're going to use Hulu instead of watching TV.
That's gradual, yeah.
Right.
And that's not going to be an overnight thing.
No, it's not going to be an overnight thing. But the next piece of evolution could be a pretty dramatic thing, which is the cable companies trying to adopt this TV everywhere concept. So if you and I are cable subscribers, we can watch whatever we want on our PCs.
David, got to go, but great to talk with you. David Bank of RBC.